What is up, everyone? Today I'll be talking about a book called The Black Prism, and it is by Brett Weeks, and it is the first of 5 books in the Lightbringer series. And I'm going to give my spoiler-free thoughts about the book. Let's get started. So, this book takes place in kind of a pre-industrial era world. They have muskets and like gunpowder and stuff, but they don't have rifles or factories. They also have a phenomenal magic system. Basically, you can craft light into 7 colors of what they call luxin, but it's basically a substance, and the substance is different depending on what color it is. So some of it is flammable, some is like very solid, some is, liquidy, some is invisible. And you kind of get to know what colors of Luxin does what throughout the book. But with any good magic system, there are flaws, and the biggest flaw is that you can only craft so much Luxin in your life before it affects you so much mentally and emotionally that you can't function like a normal human. You go crazy, basically. You go insane. So when this happens, the people in power kill you, or they help you commit suicide. We also learned basically that crafting affects everyone emotionally on some level. They might not turn into a color white right away, but it does affect them emotionally. And the second flaw is, or not flaw, but limit to the magic system is most people can only cast 1, 2, or maybe 3 colors of Luxin, except Gavin, and he is known as the Prism because he can craft, I keep saying cast, he can craft all 7 colors, and he doesn't die even if he crafts a ton of Luxin every day. In addition to the magic system and the government power structure, a third thing that I thought was very good was the characters and the way they interact and just all of that in general, and like the plot and the things that happen to the characters. Overall, very good. And even if you don't like some of the characters, like Gavin's kind of like too powerful, so it's kind of early on I'm kind of like meh. And then in the middle, I'm like, am I supposed to be rooting for Gavin? I don't know. I don't really like Gavin. But then, as you learn more about him and like everyone's backstory gets properly fleshed out, towards the end, I liked Gavin a lot, which would be absurd to say if you're only like a third of the way through the book. Kip is probably going to be the most criticized in terms of how he's written. A 15-year-old brat, basically. I don't know how else to describe him. But he just like says, he kind of says inflammatory things to get a reaction. Maybe not inflammatory, but provocative things. And also, the way Brett Weeks writes everything is, you really get into the thoughts of the characters, which is both good and bad. Usually it's good, but for Kip, he has insecurities, which, is super relatable. Everyone's insecure about something, I would say. But since Brett Weeks puts you in the mind of the characters so much, they have the same insecurities go through their head ad nauseum, or Kip in particular. So that can be a little tedious. So yeah, overall I like the book. There are a lot of good things. Magic system again, characters, and the bad things come with a lot of upside. So the just always being in the character's head is it can get annoying, but it really helps with the character development, and I think it's really important. Um, and then even like the scenes with the prisoner, it helps the backstory a bit. It definitely gives you an insight to the characters more than most books give you. Also, one other flaw, I guess I would say, um, this the characters are talked about. They're sexualized, I guess. Like, if a woman walks into the room, it'll give a fairly vivid description of her attractiveness. Same with a man, a lot of times too. And maybe some of it's due to the fact that Kip is a 15-year-old boy and he does not perceive himself as attractive. So he's just insecure, and whenever any woman comes in, it's like, oh my God. But it's not even just from Kip's point of view, too. That's what I think made it seem like too much. But overall, phenomenal book. I would say 4.5 stars out of 5. And I've read the second and the third book so far. The second book is actually rated the highest on Goodreads, I think. But it was actually my least favorite of the first 3. The third I thought was the best. I really liked the third. But the second, things moved pretty slow for maybe, I don't know, the second quarter of the book. But yeah, the first book I liked more. The plot twists were less obvious. Like, I had no idea where the plot was taking me in the first book, which helped contributed to my enjoyment of it for sure. So yeah, would recommend, especially if you're looking for kind of a longer fantasy series to get into, and um, and if you like adult high fantasy, definitely very good. And that's it. Like, subscribe if you want. And I will be back with more book reviews, but you guys can comment down below if you've read the book and want me to do kind of a, full spoiler, my thoughts and all that. All right, thank you. Bye.